Do you remember long ago when your older brother had a favorite game called I'm Going to Kill You? For this game, all you need is fear of the dark, claustrophobia, a sleeping bag, and an older brother, or a person without a conscience. You climb into the sleeping bag, your older brother sits down on the opening, trapping you inside. That's the whole game. It's so fun. Don Clark served aboard a submarine for 6 years. So for Don, the sleeping bag was 170 meters long, made of titanium, filled with 150 other younger brothers, and the escape hatch was sat upon by 240 meters of freezing black salt water. That's one butt cheek. The other butt cheek was the entire United States of America. So for 6 years, Don was trapped by the most powerful and saltiest bottom in the history of the world. Don told me that sometimes a younger brother would break under the pressure. Not Don. Don does the breaking. Put Don at the bottom of the ocean, and what do you get? You get a Geneva student who tells me, I'm going to write an entire novel in 15 weeks. That's pressure, y'all. That's Don breaking. I overheard a conversation the other day. Don was at lunch talking with one of his classmates, a Starbucks drunk hipster youth boy man named Preston. I'd like to act out this conversation for you. I'll play the part of Don. Don, would you be Preston?
Certainly. Ooh!
Easy.
I just can't even. Price of this coffee. It's like so upper middle class. Irony. You complete me.
Hello, Preston.
Hey, Dawn. Let's talk about the spring semester, yeah?
Hoorah!
My spring wish is to get Kathy to look at me. I mean, like, right at me. Like, whoa, Kathy. Am I right?
Kathy who?
Kathy who? The Kathy. The one I've been talking about for, like, since yesterday. That's 100% me right now, bro. There's nothing else.
I thought you were writing a novel, Preston.
Oh, I am. But I'm just kind of going through something right now. Hashtag adulting. It's not writer's block per se. It's like essence block, you know?
Son, we live in a world that has novels. And those novels have to be written by people with guts.
Which profile should I use for Kathy? This side or like this?
I have a greater ambition than you could possibly fathom. That's what it takes, Preston.
Netflix and chill, bro.
You weep for your lack of discipline, and you curse Dr. Williams. You have that luxury. You have the luxury of not knowing what I know.
Wait. Are you saying I should give up writing, pursue Kathy, like, full time?
You want the truth?
Actually, no. Sorry, not sorry. Not gonna lie. I just don't think I could handle the truth right now.
Yes.
What?
Give up. Stop writing. Because your surrender, while tragic, probably makes room for real writers. And my existence, while grotesque and incomprehensible to you, Preston, produces novels. You don't want the truth, because in places deep down that you don't talk about at parties, you want me to write that novel. You need me to write that novel.
Hey, bro, there's Kathy. The Kathy. What do I do?
You can't handle the Kathy! Ladies and gentlemen, Don Clark.
I'd like to thank Dr. Williams for setting this up and having me do this. It's my last year here at Geneva. I've always wanted to do this, and I finally found something I could do, so I'm going to do it. This is a memoir piece This actually happened. It's a short story. I'm going to read an excerpt from it. I don't have time to go through the whole thing. Eventually, it's going to be put into my novel. So everything you hear is real. Just a little bit of background, because I had to cut out some of the beginning. This starts after I take the oath of enlistment. So it covers the time period from the oath of enlistment to when I shipped out for boot camp, which is about a period of a month or so. Also, what you need to know is that I was an alcoholic. I was not Christian. I was extremely wild, and I had a girlfriend named Crystal. So with that, we're going to get started. This is called a leaving montage. We went out to celebrate my acceptance into the Navy a few nights after I took the oath. While we were driving home from the pub, Crystal leaned over the armrest and said, "Who am I going to be with now?" Her voice was tilted high, and those eyes were like two hazel moons puncturing the night sky. "I'm positive you'll have no problem finding someone for that," I said. Of course, this is not what she meant at all. What she was truly asking was much simpler. Why are you leaving me? Up until this point, we'd kept things casual, or at least that's what we told ourselves. We spent every night together for the last 2 months. Our favorite thing to do was eat at Steak and Shake out in Robinson. It was usually about midnight by the time our ragtag Dodge ambled its way into the quaint parking lot. The red neon sign on the roof screamed of fried string potatoes and quarter-pound steak burgers with cheese. There were usually no other customers around at this late hour, it being too late for the 9-to-5ers and yet too early for the bars to let out. So we never felt rushed to eat our food or that we were taking up a spot from someone else. The 50s diner motif always put Crystal and I into a playful mood. I'd joke about ordering an egg malt from the soda jerk, and Crystal would counter with a reference from Greece or some such thing. Opposite the front door was an open kitchen that always seemed to bustle with the milkmen hats of line cooks bobbing back and forth, and the sizzle and smell of ground steak and caramelized onions on a flat pan grill would pique our watering mouths and waiting bellies. Alice, our favorite 60-something waitress, who only worked the job because it gave her something to do after her husband died, was always at the door to greet us. Our booth was the third one in, smack dab in the middle of the white-red checkered floor. After she sat us down, me always on the far side with the duct tape X in the seat cushion, and Crystal on the nice side, we'd thumb the menus over for a moment. This was a matter of etiquette, really, because we'd always end up ordering the same thing anyway. We'd take our time munching on Frisco melts and sipping candied milkshakes, talking about the bright and dark of our day. Then we'd spoon coffee for hours while gabbing the night away with Alice, before heading back to my place where endless bottles of cheap wine flowed through the Pall Mall haze and reruns of The Amazing Race played on the boob tube all night long. There was also other things that happened those nights too, which was also fun. Mind and body, there was no keeping us apart. Yet, we said it was nothing serious. We said we'd be perfectly fine on our own. We said it was all just for fun. We said. You see, the thing about us young independent types is that we're too cool to give in, too removed to admit our needs, and far too smart for all that commitment, right? Crystal stopped all that with her one question. Whom, after all, could she be with after I left? Silence. The intermittent lights of other cars were hitting the milk of her face. They lit her up like a lighthouse on some far-off beaten shore. How was her face so lit through the night? Something had to be said. We could get married, I said. We could, she said, shifting her weight only slightly in her seat. Why couldn't we, I thought. There was no earthly obstacle holding us back from marriage. No one to tell us it was wrong or that we were jumping the gun. I mean, my God, when we were together, energy and life force just rocketed from us in ultraviolet ripples and rays of blinding electric light. We shot straight through the stratosphere to the waiting, wide-open galaxy. We screamed our bodies to the heavens, "We are here!" Life, the future, the cosmos, it was all ripe plucking. The time had come to reap the fine fruits of that most generous harvest. There was another truth, though, and one much more pragmatic than love. If we were going to be together in the future, marriage was our only option. The Navy would move dependents to wherever you were stationed and allow them to live with you, but girlfriends were out of the question, period. Neither one of us had the constitution for a long-distance relationship anyway. And when you're talking about a long-distance military relationship, you might as well be talking about living on different planets in separate dimensions. Even if we did try it, my life, my schedule, and where I'd have to be at any given moment was all at the whim of the Navy. At least this way I could see her while my ship was at home port after the workday was done. The long-distance thing was out. Marriage was in. How's that for some wild romance? This realization rushed in on me like sunlight through storm clouds. I didn't regret signing up for the Navy at that moment. It's just that my original plan of no strings attached independence would now be tethered to this beautiful indulgence. I could certainly be happy with that. I turned to her and said, "Let's do it." She agreed. The next day we went ring hunting. I quickly found out that a decent guy's ring would cost in the range of $100 to $300. That much I could swing. A lady's wedding band, however, cost more than any car I'd ever owned. This I could not swing. Like so many other things on this wackaloon planet I don't understand, I had not clue one that there were so many different specificities inherent in the purchasing of a girl's wedding ring. Sorry, a lady's wedding band. Crystal inspected every possible option of setting, gemstone, precious metal, carat, girth, etc., all of every ring displayed at the never-ending line of jewelry stores we went to. For me, it was like learning my colors again. Crystal, on the other hand, had some sort of primal killer instinct when it came to this sort of thing. She totally understood everything the salespeople were telling her, and she even challenged a few of them on their observation about what they were selling. Say what you will about Crystal, but one thing I know for sure is that she knows what she wants, and she knows it better than you. And what she knew better than I commanded a soul's ransom. Woo! As I said before, my credit was in the sewer. But if that's the one she wanted, by God, she would have it. Immediately after she picked out the one, I started scheming to get it. I could borrow from my parents, but I was already too indebted to them, economically, morally, and otherwise. Maybe these stores had some sort of layaway plan, I thought. Nope, that's definitely not how it works. Could I haggle? Is a wedding ring bought at a suburban mall jewelry store haggleable? I tried, but the regally appointed jewelry associates, all of them draped in gold, silver, and diamonds, to the point where they looked positively leprous in all that luxury, turned me down. I'd say, the shop around the corner wanted $100 less than you. And they'd say, oh, well, I'll call them and find out, just to be sure. Seems odd, though, since our parent company owns that store, too. Then I'd tell them to forget about it and try some other unsuccessful tactic before giving up altogether. Well, there's always bash and grab. Whoa now. Man, I was just stumped. Crystal saw the hamster spinning round and round in my eyes. She must have also seen that little furball plummet to its death on the mall carpet floor because she asked, could we apply for a line of credit? That never occurred to me. I knew my credit stunk to hell and back, but Crystal's, though not incredible by any means, was decent. Maybe the two together could work. Planets aligned, cold fusion was realized, and Shamu leapt out of her tank and smacked her handler in the face on the way to the bar. It worked. So we jointly purchased the ring, though it would be my responsibility alone for paying it off, till the American tricentennial. But it was worth it to see her eyes dance as she stared at the cool sterling circle. Those coruscating diamonds, the biggest in the middle, with two smaller ones abutting its sides, shine like a marquee rounded by white fire. She kind of lightly bounced it around in her cupped palms, getting a real feel for its weight and touch. I half expected her to give it a good bite just to make sure it was indeed the real thing, that this wasn't some fantasy of mine she'd stumbled into. But it was real, all right, the perfect ring for my soon-to-be wife. I'm going to skip a couple pages here. I basically talk about being really, really poor, working 3 jobs, and Crystal offering for me to move into her house, and I'm going to take us to where I proposed to her. So, make that leap with me, please. I took her out to McConnell's Mills State Park. It's not so much a park as it is the wild with parking spaces. Once you're out of the car, you meet the earth primal. I'd been coming to this forest all my life to hike, party, and think. There's an ease in the woods that rights me. You're never strange to a forest. In fact, the sycamores and pine have been wondering when you'd arrive. There's a particular spot deep back that I always thought of as my place. I don't know why they call it Hell's Hollow. If hell indeed has a hollow, then I imagine it would be full of serpents, fire, and politicians. Not here. The hollow itself was nothing more than an abandoned well at the side of a pool of water. But that pool was stunning in the natural sense that comes inherent in places of wild-born, uninterrupted beauty, at least for those of them left. I led Crystal down the forest path to the pool. At the end of the path was a staircase that lowers you directly into the water. As you walk down to the water's edge, you can see the opposite side of the pool. It's bordered by a small waterfall whose waters slope and slink down a giant staircase of jetting boulders and rock faces. Slow as silk, the water eventually dimples out onto the craggy base of the creek bed below. Once there, it just kind of idles and hangs about, always thirsting for people to cool themselves in its quiet repose. Sometimes I'd see a deer nudge up to the edge and drink. Then when it heard the people laughing and playing nearby, it sneaked back off into the woods, refreshed and new. The whole scene looked like God stomped the forest down just to have somewhere to wash his tired feet. But none of that was of interest to me today. I had a proposal to get to. I never told Crystal where we were going. She was a bit upset when she saw the water because she didn't wear the right shoes for the occasion. Crystal is not a barefoot type of girl, at least not a spontaneous barefoot type of girl. Noted. I suggested we take them off, and we did, placing them neatly on a dry bit of grass well removed from the water's edge. Chin up, Buttercup, I said. The best is yet to come. All right, she said, as she stabled herself on my right arm. We waded into the water to about mid-pool. She let go of my arm and started exploring the creek bed on her own. A few paces apart, she turned around and kicked a splash right at me. A real ripper, too. I got her back, and we kept at it until she had had enough. I started to explain to her all I knew about the area, my memories there, and so forth. Then I took to skipping rocks. I always take to skipping rocks. I am excellent at it. Some people are inherently good at carny games or trivia or crossword puzzles, not I. But I am the Dwight D. Eisenhower of rock skimming. I picked up a smooth-bellied piece of limestone. Cradling it in my hand, pointer finger on top, meat of thumb on the bottom, I whipped that sucker like a knuckleball in the bottom of the ninth. To me, the bases were loaded. Whip, dunk. See that? All the way across, I said. She didn't even blink. Nor had she even watched me. Hello? Watch! I took up another, this one a flat onyx, heavy and dense. Whoop! Tink! Yeah! I threw up my hands and clapped. That one skipped all the way across the water, through the falls, and smacked a boulder in its gut. What'd you think about that one? She chuckled and flicked a few drops of water in my eyes, as if to say, if you want to impress me, then you know what you have to do. Well, you see, I was waiting for the sun to hit just right on the water, for her butter blonde hair to catch its rays and light her up like a field of daisies at midday. But she was right. It was time to stop messing around and put faith into works. I knelt down on one knee in the middle of the pool. The cool water accepted my trembling knee and calmed the tides within. Her left hand was silent and plump. I took it into mine. I had all these things I wanted to say to make it right. You know, soulful. Yet, at the most eager of times, when the spirit breaks through the bone, blood, sinew, and skin, only the simplest phrases will do. Besides, your eyes and your touch carry a load that words could never bear. I pulled the band from my pocket and held it with my nerved right hand. It is in this state of primacy that you know you're ready to ask the most innocent thing a person could ever ask of another. Will you marry me? In that moment, the stillness, the stop, the simmer and roil all back to a wisp. The sun's fingers pressed all around her like palms to a peach. Her eyes cast down at mine. Helen of Troy she becomes, and I, her supplicant. Yes, yes. She grabbed me up on air and pulled me close. A kiss, an embrace, a new being. We let go of one another after our intimacies were finished, but not fully. Her left hand was still slightly wrapped around mine. Our laced fingers and melted palms were telling truths that no mouths could form. We walked out of the pool together, casting a long shadow in our wake. As we reached the first step, Crystal said, "Way to go. You really hit it out of the park, slugger." Yes, she actually called me slugger. She's a great one for baseball. She played soft pitch all her life. That is, until her knees gave out from crouching behind home plate for so long. "Thanks." I smiled back at her, still a little wobbly. Crystal took her cell phone out to spread the good news. I did the same, only mine had been in my lower shorts pocket. It was now totally waterlogged and broken. Crystal howled at this, and I just shook my head and closed my eyes. Thank you.
John Clark. We're going to take a break now, but first, pay attention to daughter of Eve, Carissa, in the back. She's going to unveil this semester's chimes. Unveil! A free copy for everyone. Go get your food! And then when you come back, it'll be the band Carrie. Go!